Thank you. Good morning. How are y'all doing this morning? You know, one of my very favorite things at Christmas is the Christmas tree. And I like at night to turn off all the lights in the den and just look at the lights on the tree and the ornaments. And, you know, the lights remind us that Jesus is the light of the world. So a Christmas tree has always been very special to me. And I think part of the reason that it's so special is I remember when I was a little girl, my granddaddy and grandmother lived up in Lauderdale, Mississippi, just right up the road. And he had lots of woods. And every single Christmas, we would go up to my grandmother and my granddaddy's, and we would go in the woods, and we would find the perfect Christmas tree. We would walk and look, and when we found the Christmas tree that we liked, my granddaddy would cut it down. And then we would tie it to the car and bring it home. And my daddy would, cut off a few of the bottom limbs if it needed to be cut off and put it in a tree stand. And it was always so pretty. Well, after Mr. Rick and I got married, we started buying a Christmas tree. And then we had our children, and so I decided that I wanted my children to have those same memories that I had. That I wanted us to go out and I wanted us to find a Christmas tree in the woods and cut it down. So we went to the woods and we got everybody in the car that day and we drove and we got out and we started looking for the perfect Christmas tree. Well, we looked and we looked. We looked some more. Finally, I found what I deemed the perfect Christmas tree. So Mr. Rick cut it down. Now, what we hadn't noticed when we were finding that perfect tree is we had gone up a hill, down a hill, back up a hill, and down another hill. So we had been out there a good while, and the children were not very happy. So Mr. Rick cuts down the tree, and he had to lug a Christmas tree and a crying baby. Well, I had the other baby on the hip, and so by the time everybody got to the car, we weren't real happy. We got home, and guess what? My perfect Christmas tree was way too big for the house. So we had to cut part of the tree off. Well, then it had a really funny look to it. Started putting my ornaments on it, and the limbs just kind of fell, and the ornaments would fall off because the branches weren't very strong. Well, by Christmas morning, most of the ornaments were on the floor and all the needles were on the floor. And I was really sad because I wanted that perfect Christmas tree for my children that I had. But you know what? It dawned on me then. My tree when I was a little girl probably did the same thing. But the way I looked at it, it was the perfect tree. It was all the way I had looked at it. And then, you know how in Charlie Brown you got the sad-looking little tree? Y'all ever watch this Charlie Brown Christmas? And it's got the ornament, it's kind of dangling. It occurred to me that the perfect Christmas really wasn't perfect at all. Because when God sent Jesus, the best gift of all, there wasn't room for him in a nice house or a palace. He was in a dirty stable with smelly hay and animals, and it was pretty yuck. It wasn't perfect. And I thought, you know what? I bet God was trying to tell us something even then. That Jesus comes, the most perfect gift, came in an imperfect way to an imperfect world for imperfect people. And he came for us when we don't mind our mom and dad, when we fight with our friends, when we fight with our brothers, as big people when we don't, when we fuss with our families and with the people that we work with. Jesus came into all of that dirtiness, all of the imperfect stuff, just like my imperfect Christmas tree. And it was because God loved us so very much. So when you see a sad little Christmas tree that maybe the ornaments are kind of falling or the needles are all over the floor, you remember that's still a perfect Christmas tree. because it's the way that we see it. And so we need to remember that God sent his very perfect Son for us in all of our dirtiness and not being the way that we should, because he loved us. And he wanted to send someone to show us how we should live and love others and treat others. So go home tonight and look at your Christmas tree and think about that, okay? Okay, let's say a prayer. Most gracious God, thank you for the gift of your Son. Thank you that you love us in spite of all of our imperfections and our dirty and yucky ways. Help us to look to you and to the example that you gave us to be Christ to others during this holiday season. We pray all of these things in your name. Amen.